Welcome to the Homeschool Show from North Carolinians for Home Education, where our goal is to help you homeschool with confidence and joy. I'm your host, Matthew McDill, and we have a brand new co-host,
Yes.
Amanda Wares.
Yes, absolutely.
Of course, you already know Amanda. She's our Helps Director for NCHE, and we just started recently Homeschool Helps with Amanda.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Glad you could be here.
I'm thrilled to be here.
And this is weird. We're not in the studio,
No.
as you can tell, once again. We couldn't work out our schedules this week, so we're at my house.
Nice.
This is right on the deck, just having a nice fall day today. So how about letting us know what we're going to do today?
All right, perfect. So today in Homeschool News, we'll let you know how to see the North Carolina General Assembly and judicial candidates' positions on home education. We'll also continue our journey through the history of homeschooling in North Carolina. Can't wait for that. And then in Homeschool Conversations, we will meet our new Region 4 liaison, Shana Talbert, and talk with Brian and Donna Mills about this year's Thrive Homeschool Conference. That'll be fun. And then today, I'm super excited. Our Homeschool Helps with Amanda segment will be live.
That's right.
That's awesome. Yes. I'm going to give you some tips about homeschooling students with special needs.
That's great. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, before we dive into news, I want to give you a little encouragement, which I'll call wisdom from the Word.
Nice.
I had a question from my 9-year-old yesterday, and it is, what are those things, those knobs, horns, or whatever on the top of a giraffe's head? And I said, I don't know. Let's find out.
Okay.
So he looked it up, and I learned that it's called an ossicone. Okay.
Okay.
And that they use, and then he said, well, what are they for? And I said, I don't know. So we looked it up, and they use them to fight each other. And so we watched a video of giraffes. Okay, I'll get back on track here. But it was just hilarious that there are a lot of times that I get asked questions, I have no idea what the answer is.
Yes.
And it's really kind of stressful sometimes when we're home educating to think, what if I miss something? What if I don't say something important? What am I supposed to teach? How do I know what content to use?
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important things to think about in the context of spiritual training, right, and growth, is teaching God's Word. Okay, so 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17 says, all Scripture is breathed out by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, and for training in righteousness. So we can just stop right there and say it's profitable for teaching.
There you go.
Right? So we're home educating, we're teaching that the man of God may be complete, equipped for every good work. So that's what we want to do. We want to equip them. So where can we do that from? The Bible. So my encouragement is to remind you and to encourage you to use Scripture in your home education as much as you can, all the time. Bring it up in your conversations, answer questions with it. It'll answer questions that the kids aren't asking, probably. And so are you using it? Are you having devotion time? Are you having worship time? I hope you will, and you'll make that a priority in your homeschool. So let's go into homeschool news, and this is election week.
Yes.
Okay, so this Tuesday, I hope you're watching this on Monday. It's coming out Monday, because tomorrow we vote.
Right.
And so how are we going to know who to vote for? And would you want to know what your candidates think about homeschooling? That'd be kind of important. So that's what we've done. One of our goals is to protect your right to homeschool in North Carolina. So we have asked the candidates who are running for North Carolina Senate, North Carolina House, and some of the judiciary nominees to tell us what they think about home education. We asked them 3 questions. What is your opinion of school choice? What is your view of home education? And do you believe any changes need to be made to the homeschool law in North Carolina? Explain your answer. So not everyone responded, but many, many did.
Right.
And so you can go to our website and look up candidate survey, or search that, and you'll be able to find it. We'll also have a link to that in our show notes. It's also on the homepage. And you'll be able to go there, and there's also a link to where you can look up what your ballot would look like. You put your name in, and you'll see who is on your ballot, so you'll know who to look up. So we hope that's a great service and encouragement to you. All right, let's go back to homeschool history. So here's where we left off.
Yeah.
There was a horrible bill being considered in the Senate, in the House, in North Carolina, which was causing a lot of restrictions
Right.
on home, is going to if it went through. So NCHE and homeschool families who were fighting it. That bill was going to require that homeschool teachers would require a college education, that they would have to teach a state-approved curriculum.
Oh my goodness.
How bad would that be? There would be a 6-hour school day.
What?
And that local authorities have the ability to deny permission for a family to homeschool based on twice a year subjective review of their homeschool.
Wow.
So what happened next?
The headline on the December 1987 Greenhouse Report read, "Will this be the last year for home education?"
Shocking.
This heading was not a sign of surrender, but a call to action. NCHE assured homeschoolers that just because HB 837 had passed the House, it would have to pass in the Senate in order to be law. We could still beat this. We encouraged homeschoolers to continue to contact their legislators to oppose HB 837. With the input of homeschoolers across the state, NCHE formulated a plan. 4 mailings would be sent to every legislator with information about the current regulations of homeschooling, controversial issues surrounding the issue of home education, and a solution. We also asked NCHE members to invite their representatives and senators to visit their homeschools during the month of May.
I wonder if people would like that now.
Woo! That sounds kind of intimidating to me.
So NCHE wrote a bill to substitute for the one being considered. One crucial step in the bill's success was finding a prominent member of the Education Committee to sponsor the substitute bill on NCHE's behalf. 189 homeschool families volunteered to invite legislators to visit their homeschools. They did it.
Wow.
I guess when it's on the line,
Right.
you know?
Yeah,
then you're willing
absolutely.
to do what you have to do.
Yes.
The strategy worked, and many legislators changed their minds and became supportive of home education.
Wow.
One senator, Dennis Winter, a prominent Democrat and member of the Senate Education Committee, agreed to introduce the NCHE substitute bill. He had read the 4 letters, visited a homeschool, and came away with such a good opinion of homeschooling that he agreed to introduce the NCHE substitute bill if NCHE agreed to insert a requirement that standardized testing be required annually for homeschools. At that time, homeschoolers, as with all non-public schools, were required to test in grades 3, 6, and 9. NCHE felt that it was critical to get his support and agreed to this change.
All right. So when Senator Winter introduced the NCHE substitute bill, NCHE members were asked to contact their legislators and ask them to support the substitute bill with no changes. The bill made it to the Senate floor with only minor changes to the wording. Then, Senator Helen Marvin introduced an amendment that homeschool teachers have a minimum of a high school diploma or the equivalent. Attempts to defeat this amendment were unsuccessful, and the bill passed the Senate with an overwhelming majority. The NCHE board was not happy with the addition of this requirement that homeschool teachers have a high school diploma, but they recognized that this was much easier to live with than the bills that were introduced in 1987. They agreed to push the bill with no changes through the House. The House then reached a unanimous decision to pass the bill.
Amazing.
Wow.
The new law was not perfect, but it allowed homeschoolers to have control over how they would educate their children with minimal government interference. As the dust settled, homeschoolers began to recognize that this new law was an answer to prayer.
Wow.
NCHE had taken on the State Department of Public Instruction and the North Carolina Association of Educators and had won. This was truly a David and Goliath story. So at the end, I love these personal notes from Debbie. So Debbie Mason, who is our media director and events director, she's been writing these posts that we've been reading. And this is her personal note. In spring of 1988, Spencer became the first NCHE Region 4 president. Wow, we're going to be seeing Region 4 today.
Oh, yeah.
We were already active members of NCHE, but now we were on the board. We invited our representative to our house, but he chose to meet with Spencer in his office. After the meeting, he pledged to support our position. We were not in Raleigh when the bill passed. We were in bed it was in the wee hours of the morning.
Wow.
And got a call from one of our board members who gave us the good news.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
Amazing.
This has been a lot of fun, again, and super encouraging and inspiring to know what's happened to ensure our freedoms.
Yeah, absolutely. I think until we look back, you know, we don't really know.
That's right.
All that was done.
Exactly.
That we benefit from now. All right, now it's time for our homeschool conversations. So first, let's watch a conversation that Matthew had with our new Region 4 liaison, Shana Talbert.
Great. We're at the 2022 Thrive Homeschool Conference, and I want to introduce to you our new Region 4 liaison. This is Shana Talbert. Tell us how long you've been a liaison. I said new.
Yes, brand spanking new. I've been a liaison maybe 24 hours.
That's great. And so, but you've been homeschooling for a while.
Yes, we've been homeschooling for a little over 10 years. We have just graduated our first one last year, so she's in college.
That's great.
You. Thank you.
And how many others are there?
So we have 3. We have one that is in elementary school, one in high school, and now one in college.
And did you homeschool all of them the whole time?
Yes, the whole time. I mean, we tried private and public school, but for the most part, the whole time.
How would you like to serve and help homeschoolers in the sense of what would kind of motivate you and drive you in the sense of your experience now, right? And you would be able to help them out, right?
Yes. I like to be able to speak one-on-one with homeschool moms. I like being able to answer those specific questions. A lot of times just questions about curriculum and settings and groups and co-ops. And I think I do a good job trying to connect personally with people so that I can kind of help with specific questions.
Right.
I have a good bit of experience with co-ops and different things in the community, so I like being able to connect in those ways.
Right now, could you think of some questions that always come up?
Yes, curriculum.
Curriculum? Is that a big one?
That is the big question. What kind of curriculum do you use?
Yeah.
I think almost everybody asks that.
Yeah.
And curriculum is not a big thing in my house. We like to let God lead our school and the kids lead the curriculum. So each child's curriculum is catered to them and their personalities. And so that's kind of how I explain it to parents.
Okay. So that's your curriculum advice, which is?
Let God lead the school and the kids lead the curriculum. So
Okay.
if they are active and they need more kinesthetic styles, then maybe something more hands-on. If they're the readers, then maybe a little bit more textbook.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the actual child.
Well, my last workshop was Homeschooling with Confidence, a basic educational strategy. And that was one of my main points, is that your kids are different. They have unique strengths and weaknesses,
Right.
interests. And if you don't let them do that, then you're not even taking advantage of homeschooling,
Right.
which is the freedom and the flexibility to do that.
Yes, and it makes homeschooling difficult when you try to use the same curriculum for all children. It doesn't
Yeah, it
really,
doesn't
no.
You know how many math curriculums we've used?
We went through 2 this year for one child.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, is there any other piece of advice or encouragement you'd like to give parents?
I think just relax. I think a lot of times homeschool parents try to mimic the school in the home, and I think if parents just relax and just go with the flow and let God lead their hearts, it works out a lot better.
Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving. I'm
you.
excited for all of Region 4 to be able to have access to you and your experience. So you're going to be able to find Shanae's email address and be able to contact her at nche.com. And if you have questions or want to contact her, you can do that here. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, that was some great advice from Shanae about curriculum, where she was talking about making sure we don't make all the kids do the exact same stuff.
Yes, so
pretty
important. So important.
We're really happy to have Shanae and her husband, LeVictor, to be a part of the NCHE team. It's been really fun getting to know them, so we're grateful for them to be a part.
Oh yeah, they're wonderful. All right, now let's listen to a conversation that Matthew had with Brian and Donna Mills about this year's Thrive Homeschool Conference.
All right.
All right.
Okay, we're at the 2022 Thrive NCHE Conference, and we're having a really good time. And I have met Brian and Donna Mills, who live nearby. And you've been to several conferences.
Yes.
How many?
I believe this is year 5.
Year 5, and you keep coming back.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Good.
Yes.
Well, tell us, whether it's this year or over the years, what has been most helpful to you at the conference?
Well, I think the idea of homeschooling was introduced to us by my brother and his wife, and their children had a great experience with it. And so we had strongly considered homeschooling from the very beginning. And as we began to feel God call us to do it, my wife came to a homeschool conference here at Thrive the first year and told me what a wonderful experience it was. So the next year I came.
Okay.
And after that, it was just on. Because
he was hooked.
I was absolutely hooked because I found here tools, resources, and encouragement to help me in my efforts to be a godly dad, unlike I'd found anywhere else.
Okay.
It was terrific, and it has been every year. Every year that we come, I leave feeling like I've been encouraged. I've got more tools, more resources, more speakers that have come and shared about how to be a godly father.
Yeah, that's great.
That has just been an amazing experience.
Well, that's encouraging to hear because especially my heart has always been helping parents disciple their kids,
Right.
which is bigger than homeschooling, but it's a part of homeschooling. And to know that we're doing that is super important.
Right.
What about you?
I'm going to piggyback off of that too and say it helps moms be equipped to be a better mom as well, not just a teacher. In fact, I was at a session today that reminded me you have to model certain behaviors and certain things in your life, practice what you preach so that your kids can come alongside you. They want to see you doing that as well, talking about discipleship and things like that. And so that's a great encouragement. And then having all the resources here that you can choose from. The vendor hall is great. There's people to help you. And once you get your feet wet, you feel more confident. And each year you come back, you find other homeschoolers and you see familiar faces. And you start to feel like this is a community and you're not alone. And that's also encouraging. So I'm just really encouraged for the next year already.
Yeah, that's great.
You talk about homeschooling with confidence and joy being the thrust behind
That's
NCAG,
exactly right.
and that really helps us to do that because as you think about the responsibility as a dad that God calls us to, it's an awesome responsibility.
It is.
To try to show God to our children. Many times, especially when the kids are young, the first image that they see of God comes to what their father is like to them. And we're so imperfect. We're sinners. We come up short in that in so many ways, but God, through his grace and through the encouragement that we get here, helps us in that endeavor, I feel like. And so it's just been an amazing thing to come each year and to walk out feeling like, yes, God has encouraged and strengthened us as we go home and we meet our children again, and we're excited about what he has for the year coming up.
And it also reminds me not to be as stressed as sometimes maybe new homeschoolers are. You don't have to finish every textbook, and I get reminded of that every time because my personality wants to check off all the boxes. And I'm reminded I don't have to do that, and it gives me a renewed freedom in that. And that homeschool is so much more than just the academics and checking off boxes.
Yes.
Those are great reminders and encouragements. I hope parents are thinking and learning those exact things, and I'm so glad you guys are here, and I appreciate you sharing how it's been encouraging to you. I hope other people will also think about, you can't replace coming to a conference, meeting people, being in a vendor hall, going to workshops. You can't replace that with online,
Right.
And so I think your testimony helps that. I hope people will consider coming. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Matt.
So I was really encouraged to talk to Brian, especially as he described what it means to be a godly dad.
Yes.
And how much the conference helped. Also, on one hand, we want you to know how fabulous the conference is and that you plan to go next year, May 25th through 27th, 2023. Go ahead and mark your calendars so that when it comes, you can make sure that you're registered. But at the same time, you can hear the kinds of things that we're talking about, the kinds of things that the Mills were learning, which I hope is really inspiring and encouraging to you in the way that you also are homeschooling your kids.
Absolutely. That was so neat, so wonderful.
All right, so now we get to do live Homeschool Helps with Amanda.
All right, I am so excited. So this is Homeschool Helps with Amanda again, and today we are talking about special needs homeschooling. Now, I want to start by defining what I mean by special needs. So it could be like anything else in the special needs world, there's a continuum, a range, or a spectrum, if you will. It could be something like a mild learning disability, dyslexia, dysgraphia, any kind of struggling learner. It could be something like ADHD. It could be Down syndrome, Rett syndrome, any kind of physical disability. It could be autism. Anything that falls under that is what I call special needs homeschooling. Okay? Now, I want to tell you today what are the most important things that I think you need to know as you homeschool your child with special needs. The first thing is that there are no changes or special provisions in our North Carolina law for special needs. So you still have to take that attendance. You still have to have school on a regular basis, 9 months of the calendar year. You still have to keep those vaccine records or your exemption on file. And you still have to give that nationally normed standardized test once a year. It is super important for you to know what the law requires of you and what it does not, especially you guys that are homeschooling special needs kids. This is especially true in that testing department. I get a lot of questions about testing and special needs kids. So it's important for you to know the law requires you to test, yes, but it does not say anything about the grade level test that must be given.
Helps.
So if you have a child that is 17, maybe, but they're working on a first grade level, by all means, give that first grade test. There's also nothing in the law about a certain grade you have to get on the test or a certain benchmark. You have to give a test. That's it. So if they answer one question on the test, or if they are not able to answer any questions on the test, if they're, have special needs to that degree, that's okay. You administered the test and that fulfills the law. And there are also some tests that fulfill the law that are geared towards students with special needs and struggling learners. The Woodcock-Johnson is one that many families use. And another one is called the Brigance test. So those are a couple you might look at. All that to say, you have options. So don't feel afraid or intimidated by this requirement in the law. Next, I want you to know that there are resources available for you.
That's great.
You are so not alone as you homeschool these special kids. More and more families are choosing to homeschool. We see it all the time. And more families who have kids with special needs are choosing to homeschool. I mean, I see it, I hear it, I get emails and phone calls all the time from parents pulling their kids out with special needs. But I want you to know, as that population is increasing, there are more and more resources available as well for you. There are websites, blogs, YouTube channels, curriculum, and more that is specifically geared just for you. If you Google special needs homeschooling or whatever particular special need you're dealing with and homeschooling, you'll be amazed at what is out there. Also, definitely check out NCHE. Under Helps, we have a special needs page, and it has lots of resources that are linked there just for you. We also have a Facebook group just for those of you homeschooling a child with any type of special need. It is called NCHE Special Needs Support. Another resource that is out there for you, HSLDA has multiple special needs homeschooling consultants that are available to help give you direction, advice, and direct you to resources. So those are some great places to find what you need as you homeschool these special needs kids. Lastly, I just want to encourage you. You are the best advocate and teacher for your special needs child. You know them and you love them best, and you are not alone. All right.
Thanks. And we're going to be sure and have all those links that you mentioned in the show notes. So
Definitely.
go down in the show notes, either on the show page, which is nchu.com/the homeschool show. Or if you're on YouTube or looking on your podcast, the links will also be there. And we would love for you to also share the show with your family, with your friends, people you think that would find it encouraging. We want to reach as many parents as we can to help them homeschool with confidence and joy. So if you rate, if you share, all of those things, that would be super helpful. Thanks for joining us today, and we want you to continue to homeschool with confidence and joy.